Welcome to Astroventure, the DSLR astrophotography channel.
Hey there, Astroventurers, welcome back. I apologize for my long absence. You can probably hear it in my voice. I've been gone a while. Reason being is I had gotten sick, and over the course of my illness, I kind of injured my throat a bit. So I haven't had a voice, and I finally have enough that I think I can do this recording. And so anyway, this is on the Aurora Borealis because we have the solar maximum coming to an end. I have seen predictions of it ending this October all the way to as far out as sometime in 2025. Now, just recently, not so long ago, we had that big blast that hit, and I know here in the United States, we had Aurora showing up all the way as far south as Florida. Now, when those forecasts come out, we generally have about less than 24 hours to do something, with jumping out there and getting out there to photograph it. And I couldn't have got a video out to you soon enough, again, due to my injured throat. But since we're still in the coming to the peak of that solar maximum, I figured, you know what, let's get this out here. And even if we don't see a big storm like we did a few weeks ago, it's still going to be useful for those of you that are further north or further south on the hemisphere. So to photograph the aurora, these are my settings. What I did is, one, you want to go with a wide angle lens. Myself, I shot with a 24-70, and once I got out there, I really wished that I had brought my 14 millimeter. And the reason being is because on the first night, the aurora rose so high into the night sky that 24 wasn't enough. Heck, 14 wouldn't have been enough, but I could have captured more of it, and I wish that I had had that 14 millimeter ideally. Probably, a fisheye and a second camera, and maybe shot some at 10 or 11, millimeters. But anyway, I was out there with a 24-70. Second night, it was great because for the 15-minute window that I had, the aurora didn't go up so high, so I was able to capture it all at 24 and plenty of zoom. That first night, though, like I said, I wish I had 14, so I could have got higher into the sky and captured more of it. So, going out to shoot the aurora, I would bring yourself a focal range anywhere from 35 millimeter to your widest that you have available to be able to capture it. Next, focus. To set up your focus, if you can focus on a star, it works great. Focus on a distant light, either or will work. And the reason being is because with how wide you are imaging, focusing on a star or on the most distant light you can see, either way, you're going to have the focus for a wide shot with no problem. So either or is going to work. Now, settings. Aperture. What I suggest, whatever lens you're going to shoot, adjust your aperture by 1 or 2 clicks just to take it away from full wide open. The reason being is that full wide open, that's where you may pick up some chromatic aberrations around any lights that are in your foreground of your image, and you can just simply correct that by a click or two on your aperture. So this one was shooting at, let me see here, this is a 2.8. So I clicked it up, 2 clicks, and I think I was at a 3.2. I'm just going off of memory. But anyway, just bump it up a couple clicks, get away from full wide open. Then the exposure time. The first night when the geomagnetic storm started, I had a simple glow in the sky. There wasn't any dancing around. It was just a glow, kind of like you see with a sunset, the colors of a sunset. And so for that, the exposure time, really, it's very tolerant. The only thing that you're looking for is to make sure your stars don't start trailing on you. So pretty tolerant, but those glow shots aren't the ones we're after. We all want the dancing aurora images. And what I found, 8 seconds worked beautifully for me. And initially I'd started out shooting some longer ones, 15, 20 seconds. And what I ended up having was the dancing aurora started to become very soft, just like a long exposure and clouds moving through. Well, the aurora was dancing, and all of that dancing was softening the image, and I wanted that crisp, sharp images of those streaks. And I found that 8 seconds worked very well. And where specifically 8 seconds settled in was 8 seconds was long enough not too long that I could get the crisp streaks, but not so short that I had to push my ISO extremely high. So that leads us to the ISO. On the ISO, depending on the colors in the sky, and it also depends on the lens that you're using, but let's assume you're somewhere around an aperture of f4. I found that I was shooting with an ISO of anywhere from 1600 to 3200, depending on the colors that were appearing in the sky. Now, when I had the yellow and green, the yellow and green are easiest to blow out. And so on the back of your camera, you're going to want to check that histogram. And what you're going to do is ideally, hopefully, you'll generally have a histogram that is a combination of everything. And then you'll have a histogram that breaks it down into the various colors. And so what I was able to do is look at my green histogram and watch how far over to the right that was going. And that kind of dictated as to how high I pushed the ISO so that I could move it to the right by going to a higher ISO to pull in as much color as I could within that 8 seconds, but not hit the wall and start to blow out my colors. Now, some of the other colors, the reds and the purples, you're really not going to be worrying about those blowing outs. It's those yellows and greens. They just have so much more light. And one time when I was imaging, the full sky went to a yellow green, and boy, it just lit everything up because the yellow and greens are so bright. So as I was shooting, I continued to monitor my ISO, specifically the green channel, and I adjusted my ISO up and down based on how bright that got due to the yellow and greens in the sky. And if you have more than one lens, what I suggest, I set up one lens with a composed shot. And what I mean is I had the lake down below, I had the mountains, and I had the aurora coming in. And so with that, I set up a camera on the tripod with 2500 for my ISO, aperture of f4, and an exposure of 8 seconds. And then I used my intervalometer and I left it to just capture what appears, because the intense colors and the streaking that you see shows up far better to the camera than what it does your eye. And by leaving that camera just running, I didn't miss anything. And then what I also did is I had my second camera, And that way there, as I was looking around in the different directions outside of my composed image area, if something came alive and looked really good, I could run around with that one, chasing those different images and capturing. So I found it really beneficial to run one camera, capturing my composed image, and then another camera to run around and capture the, ooh, look at that, ooh, look at that, and capture all of those. And then, just let it run. And when we first got out there, before the storm really got going, what it looked like, and it really helped to kind of start getting set up on when that initial glow showed up in the sky, before the color was showing up to our eyes. Looking in the sky, you could see the stars, and you could see this off color. It seemed almost like a haze in the sky, but it was clear. The stars were clear. And that was where throwing the camera up there, taking the shot and going, oh, wow, the aurora's there. So that's what we were looking for, knowing we had clear skies, but looking for that off, doesn't look quite right, that haze. When it reached its peak, at the peak of the storm, at that point it went to, we could actually see the colors in the sky. We could see the dancing of the streaks, and that was at its strongest point. The darker the skies that you image, the easier it will be to see the colors. But know that the camera, because it collects and accumulates and stacks that color, it's going to show up far better in your camera than anything your eye can see, because the eye is going to receive the color, process it, and it's gone, or the camera is stacking it. So there you have it. If you get the opportunity to go out there and capture that aurora, like I said, you're generally only going to have up to about 24 hours of notice. And I found that a middle of the road f4 at 2500 and 8 seconds worked well. The key being a click or two from wide open on your aperture, exposure no longer than 8 seconds to keep it crisp, and then play with your ISO anywhere between 1600 to 3200 and adjust that, but watch the green channel. That's the one that will blow out first. So there you have it. I hope this helps, and I hope we see some awesome opportunities for some more aurora before we hit the end of this solar maximum. And if you like what we're doing here at AstroVenture, consider liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell, sharing the videos out. And we would love to see you over at our Facebook group, AstroVenture DSLR. And hopefully my voice will continue to recover so I can bring you more videos. So until next time, clear skies, and I wish you uneventful nights.